Hey everyone, this is Bo. In this video we're going to be building a large coffee table made out of solid white oak, so stay tuned and check out the details. All right, we have the top clamped up here. I did it in two separate sections. I did one half of it and the other half. Those two I glued and clamped up yesterday. Then this morning I came up and cleaned these up clean the adjoining faces up on the plate or on the joiner. Jeez, and clamped them up. I've got the shelf over there on my garage floor. Eventually this will get cut into a 36-inch circle, and that lower shelf diameter yet to be determined. Because the next thing I want to turn my attention to is the legs and some of the cross bracing to support these really heavy pieces of lumber here. These are very substantial. So I've got some stock behind me. I'm going to cut it into 4 vertical legs, and then there's going to be kind of an X pattern between the legs for the upper and lower sections to support the tables, or the surfaces here. So I'm going to move on to that. I'm going to do some joining, ripping, planing, cutting final size, cutting some joinery. Here we go. All right, got all the pieces milled up and cut to size. Got some legs here that are ready to be, the joinery is ready to be laid out on them. I'm just going to be doing dominoes, pretty straightforward and simple. I got the cross braces here that are cut to size, and then I cut the half laps in them. So they'll be, like that. I tried something new and cut the half laps on the mud yourself, the trenching feature. Not completely in love with how those turned out. So I'm going to be reinforcing them with some dominoes to give the joint a little more structural integrity, and then I'll probably even put some countersunk screws in there as well to keep everything nice and tight over time. I'm going to move on to cutting the mortises in the legs and the cross braces here. So here we go. So the top is out of the clamps. I cleaned up all the glue with 60 grit sandpaper and kind of flattened out a couple of the high spots I had when the two boards met up. I've got a circle jig mounted on the underside of my tabletop here. It's a Jasper router circle guide, and I've got my DeWalt router set up with a half-inch bit, half-inch spiral bit. So I'm going to cut the circle. I don't think I'm going to cut all the way through with the bit. I'll probably get halfway through and then use a jigsaw to cut out it, then cut off the waste, and then come back with a flush trim bit and flush up to my to the circle I'm going to route here. Here we go. Let's give it a shot. So at the top cut out after a little bit of mistake. I had my a rabbiting bearing on my flush trim bit and accidentally took off extra material than what I cut my circle at. Circle jig worked great. My mistake on not checking the bearing before I went and flush trimmed it, but I cut a rabbet accidentally, but then I flush trimmed back to that rabbited dimension. So here's the top. It's just a little bit smaller than where I want it to be, but it's going to be okay. I took the opportunity last night to also do some 60 grit sanding, get all the edges cleaned up, and then before I left the shop I filled some pinholes with epoxy. So today I'm going to work on sanding off that epoxy, and as well I've trying to figure out what hardware I want to use to connect the top to the base. And so what I have here is a connecting bolt with a 1/4 inch 20 threaded insert, and so that's going to sit through the base and tie the top into the structure here. I am going to counterboard this, and that's kind of why, and that's why I'm choosing the hardware now. Is it's important to get your counterboard depth right, so you don't end up with a super weird fastener length that you can't find. So trying to use a common length fastener with a common threaded insert will tell you how far you want to counterbore that into the base to get all the appropriate dimensions. Since I want to account for expansion and contraction at the top, I will have slots. For instance, I'll have slots running this way along the grain in 2 legs, and I'll have slots running across the grain in the 2 other legs to allow the top to expand and contract in all those same directions. So I need to do that for all the holes I cut for these thread inserts and for the connecting bolts. All right, so I'm working on the lower shelf portion that sits on these stretchers here. I have it, the two halves have been glued up. I got a clamp on, hold that middle seam together. It's not actually connected because I need to actually assemble this in two halves, slide it in, push together, and then bring those two halves together. And so how I'm going to do that is with these things called zip bolts. They're countertop fasteners, but it's pretty cool. They got a little Allen key here instead of like getting a wrench in there to turn it. You use a little Allen key, which is nice because this is very close to the ground, and so I'll appreciate that, the fact that I don't need to get a wrench in there. And I'm also going to use some dominoes to help with alignment of the top, so that all stays consistent once the two halves come together. So what I'm doing right now is I'm laying out where all these things are going to go. I've got a dimension for the circle, how big the circle's got to be. I'm going to mark that out and start laying out where I want these to go and where I want my dominoes to go. So then I can actually join the two halves together using the dominoes and these, just like I would in the finished product, and cut my circle. So that's what I'm doing now, is I'm laying these out and then get my circle cut. So here we go. So about this time is when I realized that my plan to use thread inserts on that lower tabletop, lower shelf piece wasn't going to work in all locations. It'd work on the two locations, but the two locations that were located along the seam where the two halves come together, it's not going to work there. There's nothing to put a thread insert into. And as well, the zip bolt that hold the two halves together was actually very close to where I drilled my hole for that mounting hardware. So luckily there still was enough real estate to put, since the slot was running side to side, I was able to put a wood screw up through one half of the tabletop and pull it down to the stretchers. If I make this in the future, another version of this, I'd probably put like an embedded piece of wood that spans the two halves, and then that's where the holes for mounting the tabletop are at. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I can't go through all the build details in this video. It makes it far too long and a little bit boring sometimes, so please ask away. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it, and have a good one. On how the legs all work out their total geez. Man, fail. We'll try that again, just one more time. A little rough.